That along with it should be, because that's where I found my mother. Free, available, true writers.
All right, we're going to touch base on these, and then we're going to let you know for another break, and then we'll jump into our last. All right. Purpose of the lesson. Purpose of the lesson, like Allie's lesson was really about giving them that foundation to write wherever they were at. The purpose of this lesson.
Your thinking process.
Choosing a topic.
And sticking with the topic.
Yeah, sticking
Right.
with it.
That too, yeah. This is a pet peeve, and I hope I don't step on anybody's toes. But the know about and care about is your writing prompt. The idea that we say, write about the favorite thing you did last summer. Write about, you're assuming that every one of those children has had an experience worthwhile to write about. Okay? We need to let it go. We need to let it go. Know about and care about. It has to be meaningful writing from them. Like I said, you will be able to launch from that when you delve into your science topic or your social studies topic and you provided them with a common experience, that they all have something that they can share about it, you'll be able to ask them to write about it. But in these instances where you're creating that I can writer, you need to let them, and it's more important there again, that process that they can generate it. If we're always saying, write about this, write about this, write about this, then they're going to expect the next teacher to say, aren't you going to tell me what to write about? It's not what we want to produce. We want to produce the thinkers, the processors.
I think a lot of too writing is talking, so they just told me a story, or Monday mornings we always share, you know, what they did over the weekend. Favorite part, so it's real quick, it's just favorite part. They start to go, oh, favorite part, just one thing. And then, you know, we talk about, if it's like during day 5 writing, what are they gonna write about? Well, I don't have it. Oh, but remember that story you told, you know, so I can always pull that one back to writing is talking, writing is talking. So whatever you're thinking, whatever you just told me, you have something to write about.
That's another mini lesson.
And that worked for them.
It is.
Yeah.
Think it, say it, write it. Think it, say it, write it. That's a mini lesson.
That's why I got some of my reluctant writers. It's like, no,
Yes.
it's a wonderful story.
We all have a story.
Yeah.
And one thing too, you know, we talked about something that you know and care about. You might have a kid that says, oh, I'm going to write about rainbows today. But then you take that story from, tell me about a time, tell me about something you know about rainbows, or tell me about a time when you saw rainbows. And so that way they actually turn it into something about them, so they'll have more to say, because if it's about you, if you know about it and you care about it, then you'll have a lot to say. If you don't know a lot about it, you're not going to have a lot to say. It's going to be Minecraft, and I played Minecraft and I built blocks. So it's going to be,
There is a love between the boy and the video game.
There is.
I can attend to that in my own house.
Towards the end of the year, I had a couple that just, talking about cringe, and I would hear them in conversation, but I can't wait to get home and play Minecraft.
Oh. Where did you get home? We're having so much fun here. I'm insulted. I love that.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
One of my little girls told, what are you gonna write about? My aunt was on TV, and so I said, okay, well, write about that. And she wrote a pretty detailed thing about putting putting her aunt at the Boston Marathon with the mom. And it was strange, actually.
And you'll get some strange stuff. You'll think, what's
Yeah.
going on with this little dude? But there again, that piece of relationship and understanding that child a little bit better, that they come from some questionable stuff. Yeah.
I had one little boy, and he knew how to write the word jail very well. Well, he'd seen it. I suppose he'd seen it a lot, and so he, you know, in a 4-letter word, only got 2 of the letters, but he could get all the letters in jail because he had seen it. So. I don't know.
And that's normal to them.
It
Right.
is, yes,
You know,
yep.
I was listening to a statistic on 48% of the children in America today are born to a single parent. Now, if you consider that birth rate at 48% now to a single parent, that's the norm.
Uh-huh.
And so what's natural to them may be shocking to us, but that's their life.
And the percentage I just saw, and I can't remember, of what children have when there's both parents incarcerated is huge. It's like, no wonder there's more than 3 or 4 in the classroom, you know, and
Even more so to build that relationship, you know, they talked about sharing yourself. That exposes them to more that they're not exposed to.
It creates that knowledge almost.
That relationship building, and they feel like they know you.
Yeah.
And they're not shunned for where they're coming from. I loved in your writing, though, in this particular writing, you really caught those little boys.
yes.
You know, they need to hear something gross and
They-
disgusting.
yes.
I know when I observed in Allie's class once, I believe she was talking about her dog peeing on her carpet or something, yes. And, oh my, her little boys
Yeah,
were just.
They love it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's gross.
Yeah.
They're the most relaxed. Like girls, you know, are more willing to write, but those boys need something gross to
I just
catch.
have heard that girls write for the teacher and boys write for their friends or something like that.
Yeah.
Is it
Oh,
something,
right.
something along the lines, like, yeah,
Right.
girls will
Makes
write for their
sense.
teachers and boys will write for their friends.
That's why it's great having kids for writer's workshop, because you use the third, you know, I've got a fifth, going into fifth and going into third, and I talk about them a lot. You know.
Oh, yeah.
Olivia, I know
Oh,
she'll
yes.
say, what are you talking about? Because, you know, I use their names on my modeled writing.
Yes, like when my daughter moved into the garage, this is funny. My daughter moved in the garage and I wrote about it during a model lesson. And I encouraged kids to trick or treat at my house. And so one of my little boys shows up and I told my kids, you know, when the kids come, you need to come introduce yourself. And Madison comes up the stairs and Joe goes, "You're the one!" She was like, "Mom!" But you know, it's alive for them, it's real, and it's so true.
And I think it's also a connecting point to take home because those life experience that you talk about, I know even in preschool, I have some parents who drop off their kids and they'll say, oh, we heard about, you know, so I mean, it's just something to talk about for them at home too.
Yep.
That's good stuff.
My husband and son were just down at Fort Lincoln, they were doing a little fishing, just Friday night. And they came home and Dean said, yeah, there was like a little bit of mowed grass, and that's where they were standing. And then the grass got taller, and he's like, oh God, I'm not walking through that. And just at the same time he thought it, he looked down and he had 10.
It's the year of the tick, I swear. I have never experienced ticks like this year. It is the year of the tick. I know, I'm sorry. So,
But I need to quick tell you, I have kind of a weird obsession with something, and I use it in my writing all the time to get my voice. I love wrestling, like not like organized school wrestling, like really fake hit you with a chair wrestling. And the first time I ever thought to write about it, I'm like, okay, I want to do onomatopoeias because they're gonna love that. And I'm like, what should I write about? What should I write about? And I thought, oh my gosh, why haven't I been writing about wrestling all along? But when I talked about the chair hitting someone over the head and like the crunch, the boys were so into it. And I mean, my husband and I, we watch it all the time. And so I write about that and they're hooked. Like they know Tuesday morning during Writer's Workshop, I have watched WWE wrestling the night before, and so I'm going to write about wrestling Tuesday, and so they are just jacked for Tuesday's writing.
So where are
And-
you
and-
going?
and- I know. Well, I wanted to.
Cause I am.
I was going.
I'll let you know how it goes.
John Cena's not coming, so.
Yeah.
Anyways, and using that engagement piece with them, like this is a perfect story, like later in the year, I could have talked, I could use the word gross, and I could have talked about how I did tug them off, and, you know, they would love all of that. The other great piece about it is when they start to buy into your stories, you can leave them hanging. Like when you get into putting a great wrap up on your piece, there's just so much, just layer upon layer upon layer upon layer. Play it, use it. You'll even start thinking about your life differently, like, I'm gonna write that one, I'm gonna use that one. You do, don't you?
Yeah.
Become very conscious, but so do your kids. They will enter your classroom in the morning and they will say, Writer's Workshop today, I'm gonna write about. Or they will come in and they'll say, do you know what happened to me last night? And then you say, write about that. Write about that. I mean, it just be the first thing out of your mouth. Especially when, like, if you're doing that morning share time and something really awesome, you should write about that. That's a story. So, okay, break. Break.
We'll break till,
You want 11:30? Yeah, we'll say that and then we'll see if people just back in.
at the most 11:30.
Can we?
Where did you guys go? Yeah, so maybe he'll come in July.
So, when I do this,
It is. And it is the weird thing.
when we did that first one,
I'll write that to you. We'll do that for you. I have no idea you're on.
I had it up on my computer and then we wound up having to replace our presentation. And so, and we're gonna get good seats, so we're gonna pay good money for it. Because we're like, you're either paying to live it or you're not. And so we're like, I don't like it. Go big or go home. And so we're like, just can't spend that much. And they're going to, they're coming to Fargo. So John Cena's still not gonna do it. However, Seamus is my favorite. Oh my gosh, he's your I got it too.
It was get this year. So we got to watch Raw, and then all we have to start night snack bars. The Friday night snack bars. I know. Both of them. Everybody, I see it.
I heard that he's not, unless he makes like a.
See, he's for your life. Because I know.
But he's coming on, what's there coming on Friday, right? It's a
Yeah,
Friday.
it's Friday, and then Monday is Martinez.
Now.
Oh, when I came home, it was floating on the top.
I don't know why, I don't know if it's because of the injury or what. I was so excited to story about Richard
I always tell them.
I used to know that you couldn't walk your kid. Yeah. I got married and we were up in the chapel one night. Like,
I always love
when
when
you for
you
marriage.
see
He was like,
Mary's Carnival, they're all going home.
I have to admit something to you. I love wrestling on parents.
Me too.
How did we not know this about each other?
How fun.
So now it's hard. That was your last year.
Yeah. See, and we always have to watch it the next day because we don't have cable.
Yeah.
So we always, we're watching it like on Hulu.
Yes.
But
Yes.
we always watch
Yes.
it the next day.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I feel like a nerd.
But that is the best, I'm telling you, that is the best thing for your kids about your boys will love it.
I never even
They'll
thought
start
of that.
talking about it all the time. Like they'll ask you questions and
Awesome. I never even thought about that. So, yeah, I hope that I stay close to you. No,
Yeah,
you and Randy are
I
never
believe
doing
that
it.
Kobe thinks it is.
Kids.
Yeah, I can do without
So
the
they'll
girls.
actually research
Yeah.
and.
All of them.
Yeah.
They're too much. They ruined it for me.
So that was.
The little girl's just I'm just like shocked.
Eighth grade level, there's
Oh, yeah. She drives me nuts. We were watching it last night, just rewatching it. I was like, I just want to bubble you.
Oh shoot, let me quick stop this. No one needs to see our break.